I was here for cocoa. Akuafo esu. You see, my father is a cocoa merchant, and I can say for a fact that in the past 2-3 months, it hasn't been easy for him. He has a number of cocoa bags stored in his warehouse. Unfortunately, there is no funding for that. Now, you go into the details. Island TV plan. What you brought out here, and over like if you don't share, no subscribe it. Now, other commenting so Abba, and then your first time out here again. Island TV Plus. Now, Coco, if you have one Omusu, ni nyina no say sika emma. Sika ono monde ebe makuafo cocoa merchant licensed buyers. Sika no eni wo mo ho campese merchant ti se me papa a wo to cocoa no wo mo atimi ede sika bia ma akuafo a wo mo ache wo cocoa ede abre wo mo akache. And you see, it is very frustrating. Say producers are producing, there are enough supply. However, there are not enough buyers. Now, you go into the reason. What happened with cocoa syndicated loan? And then the current administration, it decided they would suspend the traditional way of financing cocoa producers, the syndicated loan. Now, now it is difficult for Cocoa Board to even fund the operations of cocoa farmers. And a breaking in down at the amawo say what you bring to this point here. Like if you inform nothing, so subscribe to the channel if I'm 2025 last year. And Dr. Cherished forcing every year announcement for the cocoa price adjustment. Now it was trading around 3,000, I think 1, and a movie call I think 3,002 or 3,006 somewhere. Now, well, if we start time, cocoa akuafo, some were happy, some were also not happy, but the dissatisfaction comes as a result. Say the syndicated loaner akuafo nim dada say the beginning of every year government on behalf of Cocoa Board it is no more operating. The government intends to choose and has chosen a new model for financing. So with the cocoa syndicated loan, there are some banks, international banks, and then some local banks. Cocoa Board source funds, free or more. So the funds are provided upfront. It's not that you deliver the cocoa before we give you the money, but these banks, it is syndicated because a lot of banks are coming together. Then they share the credit risk. Now these banks come together, then they give the funds usually between 1 billion to 1.5 billion a year dollars. Now this money comes to Cocoa Board, then Cocoa Board distribute to licenses a year buying companies. Then in turn goes to a year merchants. Now merchants so now because of a car Cocoa Board aburagu it is becoming very difficult for the government to pay. In fact, in the year 2023-2024, the government paid about $150 million in interest in $150 million in interest on that loan. So you realize it is quite a huge amount of money that the government pays in interest alone. Now, Ebra KCL force our finance minister. Announcement, Cocoa akuafo, like I said, some were happy, some were also not happy. But they have complained bitterly, say, in the past 2-3 months, Sikama, then they are also angry. Now, there is one farmer. But you see, very worrying, right? Say Ubia Oye Cocoa farmer having won one of the best farmer awards in Ghana. So Obi bi na no Edia Kasa. Na ansa na yeba wakotie this farmer no Kesela to forcing last year ebra na o announce price increment no mumientie ni 70 bia okan and how the traders at the time took the news.
The unpaid cocoa debt dates back to November 2025 as the Ghana Cocoa Board grapples with a debt exceeding 32 billion Ghana cedis. In October last year, Ghana sets its farm gate price at 58,000 cedis per metric ton, equivalent to about $4,640, representing a 12% increase.
On the basis of the changes that we have affected to the forecast, the government has taken a decision to increase the producer price of cocoa to 3,625 Ghana cedis per bag, or 58,000 Ghana cedis per ton. This simply means that per every bag purchase, the cocoa farmer is getting 400 Ghana cedis additional.
However, available data show international cocoa prices are currently trading at around $4,700 per ton, narrowing margins and complicating Cocoa Board's ability to meet its payment obligations. President of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association, NACOFA, Stevenson Ananeboating, says the delay is worrying.
Cocoa Board did not receive the money he collects from these people every year. That's syndicated loan. That is why this thing had become a problem. And if Cocoa Board and the government cannot stand to buy cocoa any longer, it's to let we cocoa farmers aware, because government doesn't have cocoa farm in the country. We cocoa farmers own cocoa farm. Then he come and then he does not tell us anything. And Cocoa Board, who is representing cocoa government on cocoa interventions, are also keeping silent on this issue. In fact, we are very, very aggrieved to that extent, because it's not fair and it's unfair, and it's also going to make this government unpopular.
The association laments that constant engagement with government have yielded no response.
A lot of letters have been written to them and they never reply. So this time round, we have decided not to write any letter again. Since we write and they will not reply, it's in fact it's unfair to us, and we are not prepared to write any letter. But then we are going to take decisions on what we are going to tell the public on Wednesday.
With cocoa prices tumbling on the international market, it remains to be seen how government will overcome this payment hurdle. Grace Hamwajiman, TV3 News, Accra.
You see, there were a lot of propaganda and there were a lot of comments, especially from the opposition. Say, Obi a obaye say obetu to cocoa mu. Obaye no 100 cedis per anache say odi ato so. Na a lot of people were very worried. Na ana cocoa farmer kese ba ko say ono de ba bia duru no. Ode ne cocoa no ebema galamsey for, because say obi ati cocoa for 2-3 months. A lot of bags and our pile there go and sika anywhere there. Then what is the point of continuing to plant cocoa? Because now government nankasakra ehuni obeye in an attempt say obe provide funds for licensed buyers. Well, of course, there are some reports say the government Cocoa Board will blend the traditional way, the syndicated loan, which I agree, because loan, no? I mean, we are paying so much interest on it. And it is what has crippled Cocoa Board. And you see, say, Utie Cocoa Board CEO, Dr. Randy Abia, you realize that there were a lot of mismanagement at Cocoa Board, especially as far as the Esol administration concerned. There were a lot of mismanagement. And nema unnecessary. jute bags, and you see a crap and a crap because someone has to chop. And you see all these things, accumulated. And I just say, I'm a problem. Of course, there are also reports of a year cocoa about not meeting its demand because Ochi loan, every syndicated banks, not the tons you are supposed to deliver and you're able to deliver. It means that you have breached the contract. And she said, you are going for another loan the subsequent year, you are more likely to not get the exact amount in the previous year because you are not able to meet your delivery quantity. And I think all these things put together, and I'm a problem the cocoa sector FAC. Now, Mientie Okweni now and he made it point blank. Say he's not doing politics. He's saying the fact as it is. And like I said, my papa will go merchant. The last time I asked him, Ejabadu, I said as I say cocoa is the tier. And they say Sikani ho, the cocoa no dear but Sika able to cocoa no anyhow. And if there was a way he could get money so that he could buy the cocoa, because when he said the cocoa already, the cocoa board will come for the cocoa. But the money now. So I was suggesting that any poppy, na umfa cocoa in your collateral, now uncle bank, now uncle and G a year loan. And also by doing home. While Mumientie a cocoa canino.
Medasi, me champion for Muhena. Masam Kakrami person becan say, President Mama, made any politics number be. Me can't say mama, a queer for me queenie, and sana me back Masia Babetna. Into queer for Assam Namekanye politics na me be. Into me person me busa a president say, Bosome be two my fancy 2 months, 1 year Ketuan to Obetiazi. Say, and the Okaso a brand table cranko kuka, and I will bet my another queer 1 year. Ya brepa chief ya brepa papa what you say
what is that then ekoso
koko akuafo me fan say e bedi bronya no ana me call me kurase me koko se hwe me obi nso manso ana me call ho a wo mati koko a me nyeska e de bae be 2 months e be sisamre koko wo makali nyina sese manso 30 bus na wo makali me nya kapreba se hwi me frɛ wo mu no o mati 27 bus me nya kapreba Enfriwo, a campum cry saying, Madame, you see a queminue, Mr. Mamma, maybe picture was a na ye, a Wahanman come at the Chirawa, Ubu Messen dear mum. What you say, ya tico co, what's in Calcua Focus striker, and a Yankee Bacco strike.
I shall say man to be.
Mefan said, I got 2 months, I'm here de Brugnano. And a sake a ye see,
not a bear from October move. And now on a tico co no tia, what they call echo. Kaliwia
yes kabia
I create for the country almost
I got you for so mko banges kenu almost mko banges kenu me se me call manso na me call CMB omo dan omo to kokko ogum me du kokko egu CMB office one na me ye ma hye chief anu odin too much o enti wo MP for no omo so omo kokko tena ho no so omo kwakọ omo ko no enti office bosomi mienu omunya omu pe anti ombe sori akọ enko omu kan wansam me yente no wase chief ma me nka bibi nkyerɛ omu no omu te omu wase se ebe kakra no omu de box ba be si onya de obi abekwa akoto aba ma omu because omu de anode ene be kan asem akyerɛ se omu bo ombese ebe dru ho no omu fi obi a chief serious asempa na me kan sa no obeti akura na se wono wonya adwuma bi aka no kokofo na so okokari koku na 2 months 3 months 4 months wonya sika and two visa de baduan no woni what you say e de baduan pa na woni so enti obi nya na your friends na asase na 1 acre gamse fo no kwakoto a 1.5
1.5
billion 1 acre
150 million Ghana
ai so enti office sika wo so a na wo ba betwen wa tikoko e ma fan say 30 bas ya me matem
1.5 billion
there be 1 acre
no the amount for how many
there be so no waton ma
waton kura
waton kura ma what you say waton ma na would first one we kura na se foforo san ba so san ba be dia eno so san wosika wo san yeden e san agye entu vi so ba be dan koko na wo be ba na wo nto koko na wo ba be ya no de na wato aba ma na wo be nto koko na
obekọ akọje 100,000 Ghana cedis.
Me wo masase bi wo no kura me se China fo no kura ba sia ya me kwa akoton asase na mo na me to mo ma me amegina ho no na ma hwe de obeba wo se omo ni galamse no masa anu odin serious enye yizo mani abrepa o
asase de yo de abade wasase na ase ne de ende
na masa asase mi ana me bo ho ban o what you say na wo bi bedua ne koko na wo se wo de wontua ne ka wo ko aduma wo ko ji upe ana na wo pese o de akurafo ye nkwase for service.
The challenge is that from by October cocoa farmers are Ghana has say no because ye di kan ye send my country di kan ye sa story.
Yes, me send my be message get Thomas Opoku.
Okay, when I send it.
Oh, okay. So be 2 weeks muni. Ye ne akurafo here na ba kwa kasa hafo. Bonkomo.
Yes. No because of the syndicated loan.
Yes, that is in moment. Ameska sem ho ayedin. And the latest kakra is how kra na say abamu penifo bi kan ya kwa mte say omo hwese ekwan a omo fa so a omo de to iska sem ho ayedin no. Omo atrase kwan foforo but as we speak kwan foforo no so omonya say eyebunkum na ye fa nifa ye koje bosen bi wo ha de obi anim nti say the panyini kan sisi ya kasa no obi antime nche say whether in the coming days na awotwe mienu na awotwe nanu anana miensa ntam no sika bi abawo obi antime nditeme dia ka ye say ye hwedwame ene de bia aban mu penifo meetings ene discussions a ekoso no which also could be say the omo meka ma ye hu no betima ba say bia ne ye nan sori china no na omo abebo ya manese omo nsa kan sika bi na sika ne eni mi gidi say koko akwafo sika de say kamu pe na asem na ya to because obi omu a na no obanyina meka asem bi wo ha say wo hwe sika na akwafo no ko bi wa na ho chene kaka ko ni nu akwani wa kakra wo ne ho
me fidi wa na da
good now wakwaje kakra but say ye no ni nua na nko bekọ no akwaje so ebi ni ho enti obede ya survive e na omu bi omu kwara wo sam no say omu de ne ye kakra bi obi ani sika no enoso enti no kakra na na nani da so but obi kura o ekoko kwani o sa wa other business be alright be apanyi kura te o other business be a otimi ede na half kaka but uko henia oni adwuma bi a na nyina no odan ne kokofo no na eno sa no wo ye ne den e pa
woman ba ko ya wo enu na me wa sori kura no da so o frefre me so ni kunu awu ne manyina wona na hwe mu school sika wode man kura ko school kura kwa ya sa me so ofre me no ofre be 5 times
ohiamwa
so what the picture was say me send them out me kura na me ko ho no na me nim say obi ye no interview bia and some a work no e serious o chairman e serious o oh
me did say ehia say o say hwe e woko because o hwe ayi so obi wasase 1 acre o tono e dey amobi 150,000 1.5
1 acre no ye kan
e dia busuafo koko kwani no so ono de wo beton ni koko no 1 acre because o ton koko ro 1 acre 1.5 billion o beton no de age no mo de galamsey because e come ya and in as much as I understand his frustration really would you sell your land so that you destroy the land? I understand the situation because my papa is also in similar situation. You see, he's not getting the funds needed. So be waiting me offload. But that doesn't mean say because of that on Tony Kuku na on farmer galam say yes. No one say assassin, no one say kuku no. It is not necessary. In as much as we are frustrated, let's think about some of the decisions I am a person take in times of desperation. Abusia, your cow say Island TV plan. For comment about the submissions and their frustrations, right, with regards to the funding Emma as far as school board concerned. Me whom I drink comment session.